Welcome back to the Metro on 1019 WDET FM, Detroit Public Radio. I'm Tia Graham. When the Trump administration paused federal grants, many Michigan nonprofits were put in a tough spot. The number of nonprofits that have gone under is hard to know, but food service and arts organizations are more likely to be treading water right now. One of those nonprofits is the Michigan Shakespeare Festival. That show will not go on for the first time in many, many years. Since 1995, the gathering has been a fan favorite, growing from just one weekend to a 6-week event from July to August. Originally called the Jackson Shakespeare Festival, the Jamboree grew to host school productions and year-round programming. Now the future of the entire organization is in limbo. To discuss the festival and what the organization's plans are, we have Janice L. Blixt here. She is a producing artistic director for the Michigan Shakespeare Festival. Janice, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you for having me, Tia. I really appreciate it.
Of course. So just thinking about the season number one, so sorry that you all had to cancel your whole entire season. Can you talk a little bit about that? Was this season already complete? What goes into setting up the season and preparing?
Well, a season is actually chosen about a year and a half in advance, and it is based on, the first thing you have to do is basically choose what shows you're going to do. And a lot of things go into that, figuring out how many personnel you're going to need. Are you going to want to do a big show, a small show? We do 2 Shakespeares every year, so how long has it been since we've done certain shows, all of that sort of thing. But the big thing is that this season has been in production since November, because we have to hire the directors and the designers, and all of that takes place over about 6 months before actors ever show up. But, we do our auditions in February. Rico Bruce Wade, the amazing comic, brilliant actor who was playing Richard III for us this summer, he had been hired, again, last summer, a year in advance, making sure that he knew that, this big project was underway and we were creating the show around him. And so there's a year or so of work that goes into everything before we hit what you would consider to be production. Mm-hmm. And production is when the actors all show up and rehearsals start and we build the sets and the costumes and then we bring it all together in tech. So we were in a situation where we were going along pretty well in terms of the pre-production. All of our, normal things were happening and our normal things in terms of funding were in place. And then as spring hit, we are very diversified. We are not a company that, we get a huge grant from one big industry, and if we don't have that, we fold. We have a lot of small donors. We have a lot of medium donors, and then we have large donors, and then we have ticket sales, and then we have some other grants that we receive. And so for us, this wasn't an asteroid out of nowhere that, we lost funding and now we've gone under. This has been years and years of funding cuts to the arts happening, and we've always been able to make it up through smaller donors and through ticket sales. Our ticket sales have grown 500% since, in the past 10 years. And so we've been able to keep producing when the big, what is considered unearned income cuts happen. And this year, once we hit spring, it was just kind of this constant flow of donors that would usually give, for instance, $5,000 this year could only give $1,000. And donors who usually give $500.
Just really quickly, I do want to jump in really quickly because I do want to know, do you believe this is due to a lack of interest in arts, or why do you think arts funding has been decreasing over the years?
I think a lot of it has had to do with the idea in the arts that if you are good enough, you should be able to make it on ticket sales alone. I don't know. Have you been watching? There's a television show right now on, I think it's on Amazon, and it's about a ballet company. And there's a big speech that the executive director gives that a healthy arts organization usually pays for itself about 60% in ticket sales and 40% in what is called unearned income, and that's donations and grants and things like that. That's a healthy organization. But one thing that's been happening in the past 15 years is more and more groups have been saying, hey, we will give you this donation as long as you never ask again, because you should use this to get more ticket sales. And for instance, the Michigan Shakespeare Festival, for years now, we've been at 80% ticket sales. And then once, COVID happened and suddenly audiences fell off, that hurt everybody in the arts. And then now this year, our ticket sales have been way down. And it's been a lot of people writing us and saying, hey, we love you, but we want to see what our budget looks like in summer.
Yeah. And
for this year, I don't want to blame this specifically on, the NEA being cut, but it's, I think, a general overall, everybody right now is afraid of their 401ks falling because of the crazy volatility in the stock market. And like I said, people who usually give $5,000 could only give $1,000. And believe me, when I say only $1,000, that's more than I could give. That's a lot of money to me. So I understand it completely. But when our donors are being squeezed and are scared, and then when our ticket buyers are afraid of what the summer is going to look like in terms of their finances, it just piece by piece, dollar by dollar, got to the point where we realized we needed to pull the plug before our artists all moved in, before everybody was there, and then suddenly unemployed.
Yeah. This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. We're talking about the Michigan Shakespeare Festival canceling its season this year. Our guest is Janice L. Blinks, producing artistic director for Michigan Shakespeare Festival. Now, Janice, as we're talking right now, and you're talking about just, people are afraid right now. They're afraid that their pockets aren't going to be able to handle summer activities or extracurricular activities this summer. And you briefly spoke about the grants there, the National Endowment for the Arts grants that a lot of organizations have lost and are going to miss this year. Can you talk a little bit about some of that loss of that particular grant?
Well, that particular grant is such an important one because even though it's not a lot of money, and it's really not. When you look at it across the country, the National Endowment for the Arts is basically less than 6 cents per person who pays taxes. This is not a lot of money, and it goes out all across the country to organizations. But one of the things that the NEA, which, by the way, has been cut for 40 years, they've been cutting it more and more and more, and every so often there's an administration that maybe puts a little more into it. But it's been on a general downward decline since Reagan in terms of funding for the arts. But one of the things that NEA grant did was it kind of gave the good housekeeping seal of approval on different organizations. And one of the things that would do is it would make other granting organizations feel more confident in being able to give money. And that becomes a trickle-down effect because when the NEA gets cut and they're not giving, the next tier of granting organizations go, well, then we're not sure what we're going to do this year. And then they pull funds, and then the next tier down and the next tier down, and suddenly it hits, neighborhood arts organizations, and suddenly it hits, your kids' summer camp programs and things like that. It really is a massive blow to the performing arts and to the visual arts and to arts organizations to lose this kind of umbrella organization that had been supportive for arts groups for so many years.
And Janice, I do want to, change directions here for just a moment. Does this change your case to supporters when asking for donations? With people's pocketbooks hurting right now, do you find yourself seeking large gifts to make up for the loss?
Well, actually, it is going to mean that. There's going to be fewer and fewer people that we're going to be dependent upon, and that's rough. My organization over the years has pulled away from large donors, not pulled away, but we have become more reliant on small donations in large numbers. And when those start falling off, it really is a blow. So it will mean for us reaching out specifically to deeper pockets, as it were. We are grateful for the donations and the support we have received. We have incredible people behind us. And this year, it just wasn't something that we could do with the cuts that have happened across the board, and with the simple fact that so many of our donors this year are unable to support in the amounts that they have in the past. It just meant this year we really needed to not produce. My board now is going to probably be spending the rest of the summer trying to figure out how to reorganize, how to adjust, how to make things work possibly for the future. I mean, there is a big possibility that the decision will be made that this has been a good 30 years and now we're done. But I don't know if that's the case. I know we're also looking for more board members. Being on a nonprofit board is a huge thing to help an arts organization. Our website is MichiganShakespeareFestival.com, and we have a big page up there now saying if anyone is interested in joining the board and helping us make these decisions and helping us move forward, we'd love to have them.
And Janice, just really quickly, speaking of your website as well, because throughout on the website, as soon as you go to the website, there's the message there to the fans, to those who have been followers of the festival for so many years. And one of the things that you wrote in there, you're not in debt. So you're not ending this season in debt. You guys are in a decent financial situation as you're ending the season, but you did that so you could stay in a decent financial situation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We have been fortunate. We had a debt when I got this position in 2010, but we worked diligently to get that all paid off. So that is a good thing for us, that we're not carrying a debt. So many arts organizations are. But the flip side of that, of course, is that a lot of arts organizations can't get loans when they're having a dark time because collateral, what is there to put up? We have not been an organization that has owned our venue. And this year, we were actually starting a new partnership with Wayne State University's Maggie Alsey Department of Theater and Dance to perform at their new Hillberry Gateway Theater in Detroit. And we honestly feel that this would be the kind of partnership that would allow us to flourish for the next 30 years. We just have to be able to produce, and this year we weren't. And that's heartbreaking for us. Because being in Detroit and being in a neighborhood with so much art and being in a place where the audiences can really just come and enjoy our shows, we're really excited about it. So, we don't carry debt, which means that we're not in a situation of, being concerned necessarily at this moment about bankruptcy, that sort of thing. However, trying to get the funding up again so that all of the funding is in place. This is one of the conversations that the board has been having, that if we are going to move forward, we are not going to be able to move forward with the idea that we expect this to come in during this month and this amount of money to come in, and we know this donation will come in this month. We're going to need to get it all up front, or we're not going to be able to be true to our artists who all lost their jobs for the summer. We have 43 artists living wage. It's not a huge amount of money that they get paid, but it is living wage. We don't have interns or free, students that are working. We actually pay everybody. And now that entire company of artists is out of work. And I don't feel that we can be true to what we do if we ever have to do something like this again. This was awful.
And Janice, just speaking about the future, what is the future of the festival now? You talked a little bit about it, like possibly you could be closing shop after 30 years of service to the community, or you could see yourselves recovering. So, right now it's a precarious situation you're in, but what do you see the future of the festival?
Well, the recovery would mean the board having to get together and, we get more board members, we get more support. At this moment, Wayne State really wants us to stay. They have been nothing but positive with us. So they are not looking at us and saying, you didn't produce this year, so bye-bye. They're saying, what can we do to help you for next year? which is absolutely wonderful. Michael J. Barnes has been terrific on that. He is the chair of the department there, and the dean of the College of Fine and Performing Arts has been incredible with us. So that door stays open right now, which is amazing. And the future will depend on the board and getting new commitments to moving forward and connecting with more community groups in Detroit and connecting with more people in Detroit and seeing if we have the support base to produce next year.
And before I let you go, 30 seconds or less, what do you want to say to the fans and those who've been patrons to the festival for so many years?
I want to say thank you. Classical theater isn't always the easiest sell, and our patrons and our subscribers and our audiences have just been the best. They come back year after year, and I love it. They come to me in the lobbies between shows and tell me what they like and what they didn't, and I love that about these people. And I am so sorry. I am so sorry we weren't able to make it happen this year.
Janice L. Blix is the producing artistic director for the Michigan Shakespeare Festival. This year's festival has been canceled due to financial struggles. Janice, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro, and we hope that you are recovered for next year.
Thank you, Tia. Thank you for having me.
Coming up, Enbridge's Line 5 oil pipeline is beneath the Great Lakes, above state law, and at the heart of controversy. We'll learn about a new project for Line 5 and what it could mean for people, the environment, and tribal rights. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. And this is The Metro. Stay right there.